Hey everybody, today I want to talk about why life in the Philippines isn't always easy. You know, there's a dark side to the Philippines. I've been here over 3.5 years now, and I really enjoy my life here in the Philippines. Yes, the ink is dry in my passport, so there are many negative things about the Philippines, many dark things about the Philippines, and we're going to discuss those today because everybody says I only talk about the great life here in the Philippines. I'm sort of whitewashing it, making everybody think life here is so great, and I'm leading them into disaster. So let's talk about the dark side of the Philippines. The biggest thing is the healthcare struggles. Here in the Philippines, there's going to be times when you need medication and it's out of stock. You know, the doctors told you to take 3 pills a day for 3 months or 4 months, and you go there and they only have 10 pills. Where are you going to get your medication? You got to constantly go from pharmacy to get your prescription filled. Sometimes when you're here in Dumaguete, they tell you you need to go to Cebu to fill this prescription, that we just don't carry that medication here. So the limitations and the availability of medications is a big negative here in the Philippines. Also, medical care. If you're living out in the province, chances of having a good doctor or a good hospital is not that easy. You know, they'll probably have a provincial public hospital, but they're not going to have a private hospital like a Silliman Hospital or an ACE Hospital, or even the better hospitals that you can get up in Cebu or even better up in Manila. The bigger the city, the more likely the medical care there is better, a higher standard of hospital, and a better chance of having better, more qualified doctors. You know, they can make more money in Manila than they can in a little town like Bayawan. So your better doctors are going to be around the big hospitals in the big cities. And the one thing that really frustrates me the most with hospitals here in the Philippines, especially Silliman when I went there for my arm, when my arm was infected, they looked at it, I paid my bill already, and now they're telling me what I need. And Janet and I would have to walk to the pharmacy to buy all the medicines I need. And that includes the needle, the gauze, the bandage to go around the wound, and everything involved. So, you know, they don't treat you like they do in an American hospital. They do everything, they have everything, and you get one big bill. Here, they give you a list of medications you need or supplies you need from the pharmacy, and you have to go get it, or a loved one or somebody who's with you has to go and track that stuff down to bring it to the hospital, to bring it to your doctor so they can treat you. That is a big inconvenience. Also, health insurance is a big deal here in the Philippines. A lot of people ask me about health insurance. Can I get health insurance? I don't know if anywhere in the Philippines you can get reputable health insurance. I just don't have any resources to verify that they're good or they're bad, but I've heard more negatives than I've heard good stories from health insurance companies here in the Philippines. My recommendation, if you want health insurance while you're in the States, go see your insurance agent. Tell them you're moving to the Philippines. Is there any international health plan that you can get? Is there a rider to your policy you have already? Maybe there's something in Medicare where you can get an advantage plan that has something to do with traveling and living abroad for a while. Ask a credible agent in the U.S. about health insurance. I trust a U.S. company much more than I trust a Chinese company or even a company out of the Philippines. And if you're using the VA, this is huge. A lot of guys that say, hey, Mike, I use a VA hospital here in the States, and I get my medication with the VA. Also, check with the VA, your VA rep. Tell them you're going to the Philippines. How do you get your medication? Where can you go to get treated? My understanding is the clinic in Manila for VA is just that, a clinic, and they really only treat service-related injuries or illnesses. So check with your VA rep before you come all the way here looking for a VA accredited hospital. You might not find it here in the Philippines. Everybody's sitting on their couch and they've heard all the stories about the infrastructure. You know, the power goes out all the time and the internet goes out all the time and the water's not good to drink out of the tap. While you're sitting at home, you're thinking, oh, that's no big deal. I can live without power for a couple hours. Can you do without power for a day? Can you do without power for 2 days? It's not that often that we're without power for a long period of time. Normally, anything around 10 or 12 hours is a scheduled maintenance, and the power's out and it's scheduled and we know when it's going to happen. But we do get a lot of short power outages, 1, 2, or 3 hours. We do get a lot of interruption to the internet. Now, if you're working from home and you need to have internet to do your job, there's always the chance the internet's going to go down or the signal becomes very weak. And I see this in YouTube when I go to upload a video, maybe it's 15 minutes long. There's been times where it's taken me 10 to 12 hours to upload a 15-minute video because the upload speed is so slow. So be aware of these disadvantages with the infrastructure. And you need to be aware of the bureaucracy, how everything moves so slow here, especially if you need to get a driver's license or a bank account. Maybe you can get it done in 1 day. Maybe it's going to take 2 days. Maybe it's going to take a week. Maybe you can't do it at all. Everybody has a different experience with getting a license and getting a bank account opened. Be prepared for these delays. And the one thing I noticed that moves fast is getting a ticket. There's more and more cops out there pulling people over for no helmet and giving you tickets. Natural disasters. Now you guys have heard a lot about the earthquake that happened up in northern Cebu. Mostly the loss of life and destruction comes with the earthquakes, followed by the typhoons, which causes the biggest damage is the flooding. Flooding is a big problem here. And a lot of it has to do with the government has had years and years to address the flooding problem, but they really haven't yet. Safety and scams. Guys, we all joke about scams. We all tell stories about scams. But when you come over here and you're alone and you're by yourself and you get on these dating apps, you open yourself up to a lot of scams. A lot of girls who are talking to multiple guys to get a little bit of money from a lot of guys instead of trying to get one large lump sum of money from one guy. So they're going to hit you up for bus fare, for milk money, for many different things, a brother in the hospital, an uncle in the hospital. Be careful of the scams. Be aware of what you're doing. Think twice before you hit send and send somebody some money. Always try and meet the person first before you get in a situation where you're committed to giving them money. I know it's a small amount of money, but that small amount adds up and it's going to affect you. You get one girl who takes you for $20 and then you go and meet another girl online and she gets you for $30. It's not a lot of money, but your self-esteem now is starting to go down. You need to be stronger, need to say no, have discipline to say no. Don't be desperate to find a companion here in the Philippines. It just opens you up to heartbreak and scams. And the scams don't really hurt you financially, even though it's a financial hit. It's more of an emotional hit, an emotional drain when you sit back and say, oh, I got scammed by another one. Isn't there any real girls out there, real people who really want to meet somebody? And you need to take your time and slow down. Safety, when you're walking the streets, be careful. It's a bunch of crimes here, petty crimes and crimes of opportunity. You know, if you leave your backpack open and you're in a crowd, someone's going to reach in. You notice a lot of locals when they're traveling on the jeepneys or even walking down the street, their backpack's in front of them. They don't have it hanging off their back with their camera there and their laptop and their wallet. Everything's in the front of them. Be careful of your surroundings. Be aware. If you see this is a dark alley, but it's a shortcut, I'm not taking that shortcut, guys. I'm walking the longer route that's lit and has people on it. I'm trying to be safe at all times. And I really don't do much in the dark. And I know I'm an old fart. I'm 71 years old. But once it gets dark, nothing good happens. And as for me, you younger guys want to go to the disco and the bar scene, go enjoy. But be careful of your surroundings. If you're older guys, be aware of who you are. Remember, you are who you are. You're 65 years old, you're 70. Don't put yourself in a bad situation. Don't go chasing young tail thinking you're going to have a great time. Chances are it's going to lead you into trouble. Meet people organically, meet people through friends, networking. The biggest dark side to the Philippines are guys trying to make it with women. You're looking for a long-term friendship, And it doesn't always work that way. They're looking for a short-term connection for cash. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. That's your life. But scams and your safety, take care of that. And don't advertise you have money. We've talked about that many times. Keep your money private, man. Don't be flashing the wad. Don't be wearing the Rolex. Nothing fancy. You never see me with any jewelry on. I don't walk with any jewelry. And my wallet, I have a little flat wallet with no money in it. I put money in one pocket and money in another pocket. I just don't carry much money at all. The cultural challenges here, guys. You know, everybody is in slow-mo, and everybody thinks that's great. Everything is slowed down. Everybody's relaxed. Everybody's taking it easy. You know, it's almost like that Jamaican way of life. Everybody's, you know, they're high and they're relaxed and they're slowed down. No, they're slow here because it's hot outside and they're not walking fast. Nobody's in a hurry to get nothing done. They don't work 9 to 5. They don't have to hurry to get somewhere. They take plenty of time to get there. When you go into the bank, it takes time to get waited on. You have to wait your turn, and everything's late and delayed. The planes are late and delayed. The ferries are late and delayed. The buses get there when they get there. There's no set schedule on a bus. You don't want to bus the parts, the terminal, when it's full. You know, if the bus isn't full, it's not going. So delays, delays, delays. Be used to it. And dealing with getting a driver's license or getting a bank account, nobody's in a hurry, and it just takes forever. It just takes a long time. You know the old saying, you got to have patience. I think you need to have extreme patience with dealing with the culture here. And with the cultural challenges is also the poverty. You know, that's something that's going to hit you the hardest when you get here to the Philippines, is the poverty you're going to see. You're going to see these squatter villages. You're going to ride through communities where everybody's in the streets. You know, everything's done in the streets. They're cooking in the streets. Some people are bathing in the streets. They're washing their clothes in the streets. The poverty is terrible here. And you're also going to get, if you end up with a family, you have a girlfriend or a wife, and the poverty of family and friends of hers, they're always going to be asking. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn how to control your charity to the poverty. You have to determine to give money when you want to. You don't have to ever give money to anybody. This is something you have to learn to say no. But when it's in your heart, you feel like it, you have the money to do it, and you want to do it, go ahead and do it. That's great. If you don't have the money, if you don't feel the time is right to give it, or you just don't want to, that's okay too. It's your life. It's you here in the Philippines trying to have a great life. Don't let the poverty overwhelm you. Financial risk. You know, when you come here to the Philippines, have your ducks lined up. The dark side is your inability to prepare coming here. And not everybody knows what to do. A lot of people learn from others' mistakes. I made a mistake. I hope you learn from it and you don't make the same mistake I made. Maybe another blogger made a mistake and he's explaining it to you. But have everything in order. Have your phone number, an American phone number, so you can talk to your bank. What good is it having a ton of money in the bank if you can't transfer it? This is the dark side to the Philippines. If you don't have a U.S. number, your bank's not going to want to talk to you. Chances are you're left out in the cold. And maybe you have to fly back to correct some problems. You need to have an address in the U.S. if you're going to keep your American bank account. Is it a relative's address? I never wanted to do that. I don't want to bother somebody. You know, I'm here a long time. I don't want them to lose mail, but I don't want to bother them. I should be able to handle it. So find one of these virtual mailboxes that give you a street address that your bank will accept. Make sure you get that in plenty of time before you leave the U.S. Make sure you're receiving your Social Security check or your pension check where you need it to be delivered. And also make sure you know how to transfer money here. I talk to guys one after another and they can, how do I get World Remit? How do I get Zoom? How do I get Wise? And then I have to show them the app. You should have these before you leave the US. It's easy. One night, sit down, open up your phone and open the app and sign in and get an account. If you don't have an account and you're back in the US, get one now. Even if you don't plan on using it, just in case you need it. Money is a big deal here. And also you have to keep an eye on the exchange rate. You're going to be taken if you don't know where to go to exchange your money. And if you're using an ATM card, if you're not one of the few that has a Charles Schwab or Navy Credit Union or one of these banks that will reimburse your fees, and you're just using a Wells Fargo debit card or a Bank of America debit card, you're getting nailed with fees. And even if you have a Schwab card, when you go to the ATM machines, they're not convenient. You know, it's a hassle. You have to go find a machine that's working. 2, you got to find one that accepts your card. 3, how much money can you take out at a time? A lot of these machines only give you 10,000 pesos at a time, and maybe they'll only let you take 2 or 3 withdrawals in a 24-hour period. Each bank is different. If you don't have one that pays the fees, I know some banks, I use BDO, and I was at Robinson Mall and the BDO ATM was broken, and I needed 30,000 pesos. So I go over to the next machine next to it. It was another Philippine bank. I'm only allowed 10,000 pesos at a time, 250 peso fee per transaction. It cost me 750 pesos to make 3 withdrawals to get my 30,000 pesos. Inconvenience too. What if you run into that one machine 6 o'clock at night and it eats your card? It's just an inconvenience using an ATM machine. It's a good backup to get your money, but there's nothing better than having some sort of money transfer into your Philippine bank account or a cash pickup where you can go and do everything in one time, maybe once or twice a month. And the dark side of finances is you think you're rich. You come here, you think everything's cheap. You go, what, that taxi ride's only $2? This is only this. Next thing you know, you're buying stuff for your girlfriend. You're paying for the family. They're asking for a lot of the money. It's a tough thing, guys. It's a tough thing. Don't overspend. Be a cheap Charlie. Have a good time. Do what you want to do, but control your money. Remember, without your health or without your money, you're not going to be living in paradise. And let's talk about noise and noise pollution on the dark side. Karaoke until 2 a.m. You know, if you're in one part of Dumaguete, the North Point area over here, which I consider close to being the worst place to live here in Dumaguete, all the bars have music. They're playing music, especially on the weekend. 2, 3, 4, who knows how long they're playing that music all night long. You drive by, you got all the trucks going by. It's a big industrial area. You get a lot of pollution from the trucks and the dust of the road and the diesel and the noise. It's just not good. And even in quiet neighborhoods, it's going to have a day when it's somebody's birthday. And when they have a birthday, they're going to have a party. And when they have a party, they're going to rent a karaoke machine. And they're going to be singing from 10 in the morning one day until 10 in the morning the next. Because they rent it for 24 hours. And they're going to get their money's worth. And the roosters and the dogs, please, you got to get over that. If dog barking and roosters bother you, the key there is to find a place to live with double pane glass windows. Something that's a little bit more soundproof to the noise outside. Noise pollution, if it's really, really going to bother you, you're going to be in trouble here in the Philippines. When I was staying at Solanea condos, we were on the 27th floor, and I could hear a dog bark at night. So if that's going to irritate you, you're going to have a long stay here in the Philippines. And the pollution, and I'm going to talk about the pollution from burning, not really trash, but burning all the yard waste. And the wet leaves and the wet grass clippings and the wet weeds, they have nowhere to put this stuff, so they burn it. And so some people throw cardboard on the fire and maybe a piece of plastic in the fire, and the smoke becomes heavy because it's all wet. And as you're driving, you got to go through this fog of smoke, you know, this wave of just burning waste and garbage and smoke, and it's bad for the lungs. And when you're driving down the road, you also have the pollution again from all the big trucks with the diesel fumes coming out their tailpipes, and also the dust from the road it always rains. The rain goes downhill. These are all islands. So on the main highway, all the dirt and gravel that is washed down these roads turns into dust. And as these trucks and buses and cars go by there, all this dust goes up into the air, and you're breathing it in if you're riding on your motorbike behind it, or even your car. So there's a lot of noise pollution, a lot of pollution from fumes of trucks, dust on the road, and the big cities. I haven't lived in Manila. I don't know how bad the pollution is up there, but let's hope it's not as bad as I've read some articles about. But still, expats love to live here. You know, the Philippines is a great place to live. You know, the cost of living is low. There's so many pluses and minuses. But just like anything in life, you have to balance it. Do the pluses outweigh the minuses? And then you have a good deal here. But there's a lot of guys who leave the Philippines because the negatives outweigh the pluses. And they just can't handle all the things that on the dark side, to the bureaucracy, the pollution, the poverty, the government agencies. It just gets to them. The traffic, you know, they just don't feel comfortable, so they go back. And that's what you have to do. You have to make the decision to live here or not to live here. And the only way to do that is by coming here. Guys, let me know what you like about the Philippines if you live here, and would you ever leave, and what bothers you most here in the Philippines. Guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you find the light side of the Philippines.